Good morning and a warm welcome and a warm room in a few minutes. We're going to warm the room not only with the heat and liveliness of our conversation, but we've also spoken to the engineers and we'll have a warmer room shortly. But it's a pleasure to formally welcome you here. I'm Frank Farrow with the Center for the Study of Social Policy. And it is just wonderful to see so many friends and colleagues here. I heard two remarks about that. One was, oh good, I can return every phone call I haven't returned in the last 10 minutes, and I'll tell you the other in just a minute. Before we begin with the program, I'm going to say a little bit about this meeting, the purpose of the meeting, why we're so excited about it. And also, we'll just do a quick review of the agenda, and then we'll get started. We're excited about this for a number of reasons, but I'm going to highlight three. First, it is who is in the room and who will be in the room. I suspect about 20% of our group are still wandering around the building. They will figure out, as you did, how to get here. But it really is an extraordinary collection of people. The other remark I heard about who was in the room, somebody was looking at the participants list and said, oh my goodness, it's a room full of keynote speakers. And I thought, my first thought was, what a frightening thought. But there's some truth in that. And I think what it signals is that there are so many of you who are leaders here from government, from philanthropy, from community initiatives. You'll hear from them from the world of evaluation, who have thought deeply about issues of evidence and learning and about the knowledge we need in order to do what is our goal and what we work for all the time, to improve results for children, for families, and for communities. We thought of this, we could declare this sort of an open mic session and just have discussions as you were doing, but some of you will be relieved, some of you will be disappointed that we didn't do that, depending on your Myers-Briggs, I guess it would be. But we do have a program today, but plenty of time for discussion. And in asking you here, we were being deliberate in a couple of senses. We aimed for people with a range of expertise and opinions on these issues so that we could find common cause when we can, and so we can respectfully disagree and have conversations when we don't. But it's our assumption, and I think it's true just from early conversations, it's our assumption that we are bound by a common purpose here today. And that is doing an ever better job of generating and using the knowledge base that allows us to accelerate the achievement of better results for people and communities and at greater scale. That's what holds us together. We may disagree on some parts of that, but that's our core purpose here today. There's a second reason we're excited about this meeting, and that is the timeliness of the topic. Our premise is that leaders at many levels and in many different domains are putting in place a more powerful approach to evidence. You're going to hear from our speakers today, you're going to hear from community representatives about what they're doing, and I think you'll find, at least this is how it strikes us, that in many cases no one piece of what people are doing is new. You've read about it in other contexts, you've heard about it. But what is new, and what's not yet happened enough, in our view, is the intentional and systematic creation of the conditions under which these diverse ways of generating knowledge can be coherently implemented, rigorously examined, and supported over time. That's what we're going to talk about today and try to assemble a vision of before the end of the day. And that's what we hope to see more of in the future. And if we take even a small step toward that today, we'll regard the meeting as a success. There's a lot of work to be begun before that actually is the new normal we'd like to see. And then finally, this is a more personal reason we are excited about today. This is a meeting we do in the name of Harold Richmond, whose picture is here, and who is one of the founders of CSSP and of many other organizations. I suspect a number of people in this room knew Harold. I'm not sure all of us during his lifetime appreciated what a builder he was, a builder of institutions, a builder of organizations that even now are carrying on his legacy. Chapin Hall is one of his legacies. He was a founder of Chapin Hall at the University of Chicago and the founder of public policy centers in several countries around the world. He was an unusual guy, in my mind, one of a kind. He had this deep, deep feeling for people matched with a very sharp intellect, and then this incredible generosity in sharing that with all of us. I know, just looking around the room, there are a number of people to whom he was a mentor, a close friend. And one of his gifts, I'd ask you to keep in mind today, he had an uncanny ability to spark conversations on tough topics, but in a way that did allow people to find common ground, even when they were respectfully disagreeing. And I hope that will be the spirit. Somewhere there's Harold's magic spirit hovering over us. I'm not too big on the supernatural, but in Harold's case, I devoutly hope it is true. I miss him every day. A few words about our agenda, and I'd ask people to look in their folders. I'm not going to go over all the treasure trove of information that's there, but if you could just look at the agenda, we'll talk about how we've structured the day. We're going to start this morning with two really exceptional speakers. Alice Rivlin will begin by painting a broad picture of where evidence fits in making public policy and how we think about the role of government in that today. She'll be followed by Tony Breik, who will fill us in on his perspectives on these issues and a little bit of the perspective of the group you've read about in the invitation, the Friends of Evidence, who are here. I encourage you to look who that group is. It's an informal group becoming slightly more formal, but many of the ideas Tony talks about undergird the symposium. We'll then have our first panel. Ann Williams-Eisen, the new CEO of Harlem Children's Zone, will be leading a conversation with a group of people who are actually building, in different ways, in very different organizational contexts, their approach to evidence. They'll have a dialogue, and then we'll have a dialogue with all of us here. We have tried in every one of these sessions to have plenty of time for conversations. Over lunch, we're delighted that Hillary Pennington, Vice President of the Ford Foundation, will be sharing her perspectives on these issues for many years in philanthropy. If you look at Hillary's bio, you'll see a depth of experience, and we hope and suspect that there will be part of the vision of the new leadership at the Ford Foundation. And then in the afternoon, we'll begin to focus, to pivot to where do we go from here. First, John Caney is going to lead us in a dialogue, another panel of what would it take from philanthropy, from government, what would we do differently if we were to assemble this fuller spectrum of evidence. Angela Glover-Blackwell will moderate the session where we all reflect on what we've heard. And while you'll be discussing throughout the day, I think that's really the point at which we look back on the thoughts of the day and both react to them, but also say, where does it take us? And then Patrick McCarthy, president of the Casey Foundation, and in my experience, one of the great summarizers and synthesizers of all time, based on what we've been talking about, will give us his vision of the future, and we'll end with Lee Shore's always unique insights into these thoughts. So a lot of voices, a lot of perspectives, and a lot of discussion and interaction. Let me just stop there and see if there are questions. Knowing the team that put this together, I'm looking for any signals that I've forgotten anything that I should add. I will add one note of thanks. We're here today, and the work that we start today can continue thanks to the generosity of both the Casey Foundation and the Ford Foundation. So I would ask you to express our appreciation and a collective appreciation for that support. Thank you, Patrick and Hillary.